Alpine guy here, working on my Suburban SW12DEL water heater. I'm getting ignition and I can smell LP, but we're not getting a light off, so we're going to pull the burner tube assembly out and the igniter as well. And we're going to check this orifice located up in here, and we'll check the igniter and flame sensor. We can hear it sparking, so we know that's not an issue. So we suspect there's a little bit of crap up in here or at the orifice, and we'll see here shortly. And we've got the igniter and burner tube assembly out, or gas tube assembly out, and we can quickly see where the issue is. If you look right down inside, you can see that is closed off, and that looks to me like a nice spider web. So we're going to clean that spider web out. The igniter gap looks good. It's 1/8 of an inch, and the flame sensor and igniter are clean. And these old hands are shaking a little bit this morning. You know how it is, hadn't had enough coffee. But let me see if I can get the light on this a little bit better so you can see. There, now you can see what's up inside there. That should be nice and clear, and we're gonna get that crap out of there. And we've cleaned out the tube assembly. We'll get out here in the light of the sun, and maybe you can get a better look-see down in there. And as you can see, that's nice and clear now. Spider web is removed. First time in 11 years I've ever had a spider web. And we're clean down here. We blew the orifices out as well. The tube is completely clean, so we'll put this back together and we'll see if it lights, which I'm sure it will. And we've blown out the burner chamber as well. Everything looks good up in there. We don't see any spider webs up in there, so the little guy just decided he wanted to have a spider web up in the gas tube area there. And we did use this water heater in LP mode when we were in Oregon about 3 weeks ago. Notice I removed this panel off. It simply mounts up here, and it's a heat deflector, deflects the hot air out. And I like to take the 4 screws off, and the reason I like to do that is it gives me quick access to these 2 sheet metal screws to take those out so that I can get both the burner tube assembly out, the LP tube assembly out, as well as the igniter. It just makes it a lot easier. It's just 4 screws, and that's how we do it. Okay, we've reattached the LP feed tube as well as the igniter to the plate bracket. Tighten these 2 screws back down nice and snug, and we've also tightened this one fitting down that we took off so that we could get this LP assembly out of the way. You may also find it useful to loosen up this other one behind here so that you have a little bit of wiggle room with this pigtail LP feed line. And so we could go ahead and light it up now. I know it's going to work, but we'll go ahead and put the deflection plate back in for the exhaust, and then we'll do an op check on it. We've turned on the gas, and as you can hear, successful ignition, and she's working again just like she should. And I want to point out something. I was standing out here at the water heater when I turned this on in LP mode, and I always do that for the first trip. And since we had that spider web that you saw at the beginning of the video up inside this tube, that LP couldn't flow anywhere else up in there, so it backed up right through here. And then the LP actually ignited, and we actually had a small flame right here. And it actually came up here, and if you look closely, you can see where it actually heated up just a little bit of the insulation on this wire. There was no degradation to it, no degradation to the connector, and no damage to the solenoid. But something like that with a blockage could easily start a fire, and that's why I pull this LP tube assembly and igniter out every year at the start of a trip. And I clean everything out, and never had any problem in 11 years. However, this time, somewhere, I suspect, over in Oregon, a spider decided to hitch a ride and decided to build himself a nice little web, which you saw was blocking that LP flow. So that's the reason why you want to check this thing at least annually. And you also want to come out when you're running your water heater in LP mode and take the door off and do a looky-loo at things and make sure that you know, you don't have things like I had. I had about a nice 3-inch flame that popped up right out of this orifice because the gas could not flow up through this tube, and so it ignited backwards right through here and blew that flame up here. Quickly turned off the LP, blew the flame out, and you know, that was the end of that. No damage done. So there you go. The total repair took me 10 minutes. It took me about 1 minute to diagnose the problem. We had ignition. I could smell LP, and so I knew we had to have a blockage up inside that LP feed tube. And for tools, this is all I use today. This is what I carry. And I find that 99% of anything that I might have an issue with on the Alpine, this little toolkit will take care of the problems. Of course, I do carry bigger stuff for suspension issues and things like that. Wheel bearing, you know, if I had a bad wheel bearing, I carry the appropriate tools. But you don't need a rollaway full of tools. And yes, I have 2 rollaways full of tools, but this little $39 kit that we've had for 11 years or so, it'll do everything we need to do. Well, there you go. Successful water heater, now working in LP mode. And we're going to go turn that off now and turn it on in electric mode, since the water heater is full of water. And we want to verify that our electric mode works before we head out next Monday on our trip.